You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell. Sponsored by Absolute Mortgage, a division of Pinnacle Capital Mortgage Corporation. Now, in the studio, local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, April 2nd show. I build a network of elite industry professionals every week, sharing their knowledge and expertise to my listeners. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can always call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online to themoneyhour.com to ask any questions, get connected with my guest. If you miss any of the show or you want to re-listen to my guest segments, they're always posted online. And right now in studio, I'm happy to have a conversation with Debra Trappen. She's owner of D11 Consulting. She's also a speaker, a coach, an author, and is really making a difference with business professionals and getting connected to who they are and transferring that into their business. And today we're going to talk with Debra about the power of positive self-talk. Debra, excited to have you back in studio today. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I love to be here with you, Tina.
Thanks, Debra. And a little bit about Debra. She is Chief of Sass, Moxie and Experience of D11 Consulting. She founded the firm to help growth-minded women in business and companies who want to serve them shine online and fire up their personal and business brands along with their attitudes. If you want to start a business, attract more ideal clients, build influence, or apply your voice, but have no idea where to start, Debra's the one that can help you with that. Get ready to clarify your values, your purpose, your niche, define what social media platforms are at the best that you can, and achieve your goals. All with lots of tech tips, oodles of moxie, and tons of fun along the journey. Debra's daily mission to ignite passion, influence purpose, and inspire progress by connecting, engaging, elevating, and empower relationships and ideas. Her superpower, creating clarity in chaos. She helps you navigate and focus on the truth and fires you up to take action. And if you haven't picked up Debra's book, you definitely want to do that. Debra, can you tell them where to pick up your book?
Absolutely. Well, of course, you can go to thebigamazon.com and search Fire Up, Taking Your Life and Business to 11, or you can search my name, Debra Trappen, Trappen. Looks like Trappen, says Trappen.
And you can tell by her voice that she's got quite the personality. If you could just see her in person with her fiery red hair. Debra, excited to talk about the power of positive self-talk. And so you're passionate about your personal brand, positive attitudes, and leading ourselves and others into greatness. Now, you're here to help my listeners kick their negative self-talk to the curb and take their thoughts to 11. So I'm excited for that. So can we start out with defining self-talk and the amount of positive and negative thoughts in your daily lives?
Sure. You know, this is something that I've really become very passionate about over the last, say, 18 to 24 months, because in particular, working with solopreneurs and leaders, we tend to work on our own a lot. Mm-hmm. And that means that our voice is the one we hear the most, no matter what. And I found that those who are really successful are really very fierce about paying attention to their self-talk. Mm-hmm. Now, there's all sorts of stats all over the place that say, you know, sometimes 90% of our self-talk can be negative, but the average is about 70% of our self-talk isn't wonderful.
Yeah.
And how sad is that?
Yeah.
You know, this is the constant mental chatter that's going on inside of our heads, telling us, gosh, am I good enough? Mm-hmm. Or most of the time it's saying, I'm not good enough. And the concept of the power of saying I am and what follows that is so epic in our success that in particular as independent sales professionals in the real estate and financial services space, understanding that those thoughts produce feelings and those feelings produce actions. And that's so important to understand that it really does your self-talk dictates how not only how you show up for yourself, but how you show up to the world. And so I really am super excited to really get everyone fired up to be their biggest cheerleader. Yeah. And even if it just starts with being aware of the self-talk and knowing, yes, there is a voice going on in my head. It's because I think what happens is we become unconscious about the voice that is in there. And
that's a good point. And I think when those negative thoughts come in, because they are, just you said, statistics show 70% of them, it's not trying to eliminate or get rid of them, but it's really just trying to go, you know what, I welcome and understand that you're here. Thanks for coming. Let me get back to business and bring in the positive thoughts. So you talk about telling ourselves truths instead of making up stories. What do you mean by that?
So this is a really great exercise to go through. And when I remember myself to go through this exercise, I'm blown away at how often I personally spend my time in the stories. So what I mean by that is there are events that happen in our lives, and those are factual events. This is where people kind of go off the rail. And factual means it's written down somewhere, it was captured by video or audio. It is a fact. It exists. But what happens is most of us experience an event and we start telling ourselves a story. So a client didn't choose us to list to their home. That's a fact.
Yes.
They said no.
Yes.
The stories we start to tell ourselves is, I don't have enough experience. They don't like me. My presentation was awful. And that in turn triggers feelings.
Got it.
Feelings of inadequacy, sadness, depression, a variety. Usually when we go event, story, feeling, the feeling tends to be negative.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking in this, telling yourself the truth, instead of taking the event and moving into a story, take the event and say, what feeling do I want to have from this event? So I didn't get the listing.
Yep.
So I want my feeling to be that, okay, what can I learn from this?
Yes.
I want to feel positive about that. So instead of jumping to a story, let's jump to an action.
Yes.
Let's have a discussion on why we didn't get the listing. If we can't, then let's look at it ourselves from a positive learning perspective. I think too often we look at no's as failures and they stop us, as opposed to looking at no as an opportunity to fail forward.
Exactly.
And learn something from it. So if you just look at your day and you say, what's happening to me and when? You lose your keys, you're not an idiot.
Yes.
It happens. We all lose our keys. So don't get down on yourself. Think, okay, so what action can I take so that this doesn't happen? Well, have a spot you put your keys.
Yes.
That's something very, very basic, but you can start to see how you're actually telling yourself false stories, the wrong kind of fairy tales, if you will.
And I think accepting the truth, too, Debra, I know that you believe that we have to give ourselves permission that these failures are going to happen, because we're not going to get through life without them. So once you give yourself permission that, they're going to happen, and just let them pass, and just like you said, learn from them and move on, to getting back to business. So I know that you have tips to help people get out of the negative self-talk cycle. So let's go through and start with being aware. Tip 1, being aware of who is speaking into you, and how does that affect our self-talk?
Yeah, simply put,
speaking into you.
Yeah, the people who speak into you. That can be who you talk to on the phone.
Okay.
That can be a spouse or your kids.
Yep.
That can be your family, could be your friends, your coworkers. Now, we can't always control who is in our lives, but we can certainly surround ourselves with positive people.
Yes.
So if we are in a situation where we are not able to get out of being around somebody who's negative, then we need to double time the time we're with positive people, because when you're stuck in a negative spiral and you're just feeling you're not good enough, you haven't achieved enough, you need those people who speak the goodness back into you, who know your greatness, who can sing your song back to you when you've forgotten it. And I have a favorite quote around this that always has some wild, old women in purple hair, and bathing suits in it. But there's no competition among wild women. They're too darn wild to be caught in a tiny space of envy. Instead, they dance together and allow the good to flow abundantly to them. Now, that can be men or women, but I just love the idea of casting aside your desire for small-minded companions. Small minds talk about other people, and they talk about the negatives. So really focus on finding those good, positive voices and getting them into your tribe.
Got it. So in tip 2, you talk about ways other people can help us with our negative thoughts.
Yeah, this is just the opposite. This isn't looking for people to actually speak into you. This is you helping other people.
Got it.
Whenever I find I'm in a slump and I need something outside of me, helping someone else does it every single time. And I think that when you take the focus away from you, and most of the time, let's just be real, the things we're hard on ourselves are all first world problems.
Yeah.
There's nothing epically, life-threatening about the things that we're negative to ourselves about. So remembering that and taking a tray of food to a friend who just had a child, or helping somebody clean their house that broke their arm, or even just simply going to a drawer and cleaning out some of the clothes you aren't wearing and bringing those to a Goodwill or Salvation Army. Just that getting out of yourself for a minute helps you raise your level of just positivity in general in your life.
So true. Tip 3, Debra. Many of us battle with the desire to be perfect. So how can we turn our negative thoughts around in these situations?
I love this tip because it's just all about being vulnerable. I think that we, especially with this era of social media and everyone sharing their highlight reel, it's really easy to think everyone's life is better than ours.
Yeah.
And in particular, that everyone else is living this perfect existence. And so if you remember no one's perfect, that allows you to move forward. And it's easy to dwell in the negative, so why not make it just as easy to dwell in that positive space and being vulnerable and sharing when you need help.
Yes.
And sharing kind of the behind the scenes of your own life. I guarantee that you are going to attract more people into your space.
Yes.
With that than this shiny diamond exterior. When you really open the kimono and you are vulnerable, it really does. It takes your relationships and ultimately your life and business to the next level.
So, Debra, I always need more time with you, and I don't know why I do this to us every time, but I want you to get through the 7 tips, and I've got a couple minutes to get to break. Can you list with my listeners tip 4, 5, 6, and 7 in the next few minutes?
Sure. So 4 is stop right now and write down 5 things you're grateful for. It's a very simple, way to really get your mind on what you have, not what you don't have. Stay in that space. Number 5, and this one's really hard. It's stop comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah.
I talk about personal brand and understanding who you are at the core of who you are. And once you get to that place and you know who you are and you know what success means to you, it's easier to be positive about your wins.
Yes.
As opposed to being negative about other people's wins. Number 6, this is one of my favorites because it's so fun. Whenever you're in that place and you're talking to yourself with those negative words, stop, close your eyes, and imagine yourself as a 7-year-old.
Love it.
Little pigtails, butch cut if you're a guy. And would you say those words to that child?
Yeah.
Of course not.
Yeah.
If you don't want to imagine yourself as a child, think about yourself as your best friend. Would you say that to your best friend?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Turn it around. Put a smile on your face and say what you would say. And then the last tip is surround yourself with positive words. Again, we don't always have control over the people. So find quotes that speak to you. I know you are so big on positive affirmation. You've got your personal quotes. And I think that's so important because we need to watch our thoughts because they become words.
Yes.
And there's a great quote about that. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny.
Wow.
So that's it in a nutshell.
That. Debra, thank you so much for your words of wisdom, your words of inspiration, and just who you are as a person and everything that you do and give back. I really appreciate it. And I love you bunches.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
and I
Debra.
adore you as well.
And coming up next on the Money Hour, why it's important whether you are a first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, or even an experienced home buyer, to form your own personal home buying team to assist with your purchase. That's a conversation I'm going to have with Jeff Dickinson with RE/MAX on the Lake right here at 1150 a.m. at KKNW after this short break.